Father never got excited. My father was a lawyer in a small city in Illinois. In one way, he was different from most other lawyers. There were times when he didn't have much to say. He was friendly, but he was also a wonderful man for keeping his mouth shut. One year we spent part of the summer in a big old house in Michigan. At midnight, my mother woke us up screaming,
"There's a bat in this bedroom! Robert! Get up! Get up!"
Father said something in a sleepy voice, but we couldn't quite hear his words. Then my mother's voice, excited and mad, came clearly into our bedroom.
"Well, if you aren't going to do anything about it, I'm going to spend the rest of the night down in the living room."
We were all asleep when she screamed again.
"There's another bat down here."
This time, we could hear my father's answer.
"I could have told you that.
He called out.
I saw it before I came up to bed."
Yes, Father was a wonderful man for keeping his mouth shut. One September day, I remember, the minister of our church came to visit us. He wanted to find out why my father hadn't gone to church for a long time. We were in the garden when he arrived and started talking. Father didn't say much, but the minister kept right on talking. He was still talking when he started to leave, walking backward as he talked. He couldn't see where he was going. All at once he fell head over heels into a little ditch. The minister wasn't hurt, but his clothes were dirty and he was red in the face when he got to his feet again. Then Father remembered that the minister was very proud of knowing Latin, so he comforted him in that language.
Facilis descensus Averno.
Easy is the road down to hell.
Then Father sent me to get the clothes brush. Going for bread. But what happened one evening next summer may give you a better idea about Father. He had just come home from his office and reached for the newspaper when Mother asked if he would go to Armstrong's store for a loaf of brown bread. I was tired of playing ball with my little brother, so I went too. Just as we walked into Armstrong's store, a thin man with a handkerchief over his face pointed a gun at my father and said,
"This is a holdup."
Maybe my father didn't understand. He just turned toward the bread counter, saying,
"All I came for is a loaf of brown bread."
The man pushed his gun into Father's side and cried,
"Put up your hands, or I'll shoot."
When I tried to push the gun away from Father's side, the man slapped me across the face and told me to put my hands up too. At this point, my father grabbed the gun. He hit the thin man behind the ear with it and threw him through Armstrong's screen door.
"Thank you,"
said Armstrong, going to the telephone. He looked as though he were having a bad dream and couldn't wake up.
"That's all right,"
my father said.
"You should get that screen door repaired right away. There are a lot of flies this time of year." "Where do you keep that brown bread?"
"We've sold it all,"
Armstrong said. So we left. Farther down the street, we stopped at Prell's store, but their brown bread wasn't the kind that Mother had told us to get. So we went on again. My father was sure that we could find the right kind of bread at a store on Main Street. When we were halfway there, Father crawled under a fence to get a kitten for a little girl who was crying and eating an apple at the same time. Further on, he stopped to change a tire for two women. By the time we got to Main Street, the store was closed. Father decided we might as well go on a mile or so farther to a store on State Street. We might have got to the State Street store before it closed, but we stopped to watch a man doing a radio show. He was asking hard questions of people who were passing by and giving them money for correct answers. Father stepped right up. He told who Chester A. Arthur was, spelled Byzantium correctly, and remembered everything there was to know about a famous ballplayer of the 1920s. The man gave Father $25, and we went on. Father, seeming pleased about the money, said we might as well get 2 loaves of bread instead of 1. The store on State Street was closed though. By this time the street lights had been turned on, and Father noticed that it was getting late.
Your mother may have to make the bread herself,
he said. We started home, walking fast. As we passed by Armstrong's store, Mr. Armstrong came running out with a package of brown bread.
I found this on the counter with the white bread after you left.
He said.
Take it. It's a present from me.
That's all right.
Father said, counting out 23 cents.
This saves a lot of trouble. Glad to pay you for it.
When we got home, dinner was cold and Mother looked hot and angry. Father sat down in his comfortable chair, took off his shoes and reached for the newspaper. Mother stood there with the package under her arm. She demanded to know how anybody could spend 3 hours buying a loaf of bread.
Listen, Martha,
Father said at last.
The brown bread was over on the counter with the white. It took Armstrong a while to find it.
Then he opened his newspaper in a way that meant he had said all he was going to say.